and he's here again today to share some stuff with you guys.
All right. How we doing, man? I won't tell you right now, this is how this is going to work. Right? I was juvenile hall principal for a decade, right?
You want a microphone, Rob?
Now I got it.
Okay.
I've already mic'd up to the thing. Wow, all right. Let the background info. So here's how it goes, right? You punk me, I punk you. Fair? Right? It's all right. So we've got the ground rules out of the way, right? So when I pulled in this morning, right, I rolled up and I'm like, oh yeah, Reach Academy, got a sign that says respect. I'm sorry, I picked your foot off. It's sticking out, so I don't want to step on your toes, but it might happen. Don't beat me up when you do. So we're gonna talk today about a couple things, right? I'm gonna give you guys kind of the talk that I used to have with my seniors before they would go. And so I didn't have a community school or a community day school, I had the juvenile hall, right? And so I've seen pretty much every screwed up situation you can see for a kid, right? But the problem is that when we bring in speakers to talk to you guys, you're gonna look at me, right? You look at Trucker, you're like, we're just gonna get out of the way. I'm gonna say it real quick for you, okay? That old guy, that old white guy. Right? See, that's it. Look, now you all like, oh, for real? Yeah. So I get it, right? So you probably don't look at me and identify with who I am. That's all right. So I just want to talk though. I want to get a feeling for who I'm talking to. Where my high schoolers at? How many high schoolers I got? Yeah. All right. Cool, man. How many of y'all like juniors or seniors? You juniors or seniors right now? Solid. Good. So I got all freshmen, sophomores, pretty much. Yeah. All right. Cool. Where my middle schoolers at? Got some middle school? All right. Fair enough.
You're in middle school?
It's okay. Truck, we get to have our feet on the table? I just want to know before I start yelling at them. All right. Rob, do me a favor. No feet on the table. Right? All right. So I'm big on relationships, guys, and I'm going to explain a lot of that as to why, right? So 2009, I was a core school principal, rolling around doing my thing. I live out in the cuts, y'all. I got a big old cowboy hat. There's a reason why I got a cowboy hat. We'll talk about that later. Right? I got a big old cowboy hat. I live out in the middle of nowhere. You draw a 100-mile circle around me, where I'm at. We grow half the nation's produce, half the nation's dairy, right? So if you eat, milk, cheese, whatever, fruits, then, right, nuts, all that stuff's growing around me, right? So everywhere around me, I got a lot of farm worker. I got a lot of migrant. I got a lot of Hispanic folks. Been there for a long time, right? So really, kind of where I'm at, demographically, culturally, looks like you guys. 2009, I had a really weird year. I started out teaching in a little town called Wynn, out in the middle of nowhere, right? I'm sorry, repeat that. I had 17 kids die on me that year. Damn. I feel you, dude. Seriously. Damn. That's what I said. I was like, Truck, damn. I got kids shooting themselves out on the backside of, right? Winton Barrio boys, shooting boys from Levi's, killing each other. We live out in the cuts, dude. There's dairy, there's cows, man. Y'all fighting over, you don't rep some cows. Get the heck out of here, right? And so, I had a little meltdown a couple years, man. I got tired of working with kids that kept coming back to me and couldn't hear the lesson. And there's a couple lessons, man, I want to share with you guys today, and hopefully one or two of them sink in your head, right? And they're like 3 simple sentences, right? But I'm going to need you guys to get them straight in your head. You don't have to believe me. I'm going to show you something that's real quick, real weird. Who's real brave, by the way? When you guys like really brave? Really kind of outgoing? Yeah? This fool right here? But he's saying you do. I'm going to trust you, man. You trust me for a minute? Yeah? I'm going to ask you to do something really weird here. It's going to freak everybody out and they're going to laugh. I just don't want you to freak out about it, right? You got it? I appreciate you, man. All right, so check it out. Let's see if we have some common things going on here, man. So, how many of you, and you don't really have to raise your hand, right? Because I don't see it in your eyes anyways. Let's come on. See, some of this sounds kind of familiar, right? Come out of situations have a bunch of abuse, right? Maybe you have a single parent. Maybe you have both parents, but only one's kind of ever present, right? Maybe you have some gang affiliation. Not realize there may be some probation officers or somebody sitting outside the window, you don't wanna say nothing. I get it. It's all right. Maybe you got a situation where, you don't feel respected. Maybe you feel like you don't have, you got no voice. Maybe you feel, this big word here. What's that word, you guys? Does anybody know? Disenchanted, right? Disenchanted, right? Disenchanted with school, right? Familia, right? Family, right? Friends, right? Maybe you feel like, people don't look out for them. Yeah? We identify some of those things? Yeah? So remember when I said, hey man, you got like fat old white guy in front of you, right? What I was gonna do is I was gonna come in here and I was gonna hand you guys some 3x5 cards on and be like, hey man, tell me, right? Write down like some perceptions of who you think I am, right? Right? And most of you guys look at me like, man, I don't know that guy. How about this one, man? This is like a hot topic lately, right? People love this. Immigration status. Got somebody in your family not here legally, right? Got somebody, right? Got a president says he wants to ship everybody somewhere, right? All that nonsense, right? So can we identify some of those things on the board? All right, because I can, right? So check this out. All right, do me a favor, stand up. All right. Got a broken finger?
Yeah.
Shouldn't hit that fool. Stand. All right, here we go. Right, so y'all stand here looking at me, right? Check it out. Look real good. Like, who got really good eyesight? Some guy, me, how you got good eyesight? Check it out. Look at me. Right? Look at my head. Right? You notice how one side's got a big old fat dent in it? Right? With me? See what I'm talking about? See what I'm talking about in there? Yeah? Can you see it? Like, my head's like, my head, like, I get it, my head. I got an ugly head. Why do you think I wear a pink? Right? That's I gotta cover up that, right? All right, so do you see that? Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
What's that? It's cave again, right? Yeah, look real close to the scars. You see the scar going up here?
Oh, yeah.
Then you see the one over here?
Yeah.
So there's these two fools, right? One was right hand and one was left hand. Each one had a knife, yeah? Right? And so I had to get like mine, so I ran by him. That's not how life works, yeah? All right, so you gotta be brave. I'm gonna ask you to do something weird. It's gonna make you feel uncomfortable. Right? Cause that feel right here. You feel that?
Oh, what?
Feel it, All right, man, I got you guys. Got you. Feel it? What'd you feel like? Tell me.
Things going in, like, inside his head and shit. It's like,
For real, right? I'm not playing, right? I got two holes in my head, right? How do you get 2 holes in your head?
got shot.
Nah, man. So remember when I said, hey, man, maybe you don't have anything, in common. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. Check it out. Immigration status, right? We love this word. I know what it's word. Illegal. My mom's an illegal alien. My mom's a wetback. For reals. Maybe you guys have heard that term, maybe you don't, man. Kind of fell out of fashion, right, people? My man back there shaking his head like, nah, dude, really, for reals, right? So my mom, right, is here illegally in the States. So I'm first generation, right? First one born in this country. I was also the first one managed to, my family get through college and stuff. That's not a big deal. Abuse, right? So some of us have probably been in situations where we've had people put hands on us, do some pretty horrible things to us when we were growing up, right? Might have been in a situation where you got talked into doing some dumb stuff, right? So my mom, I grew up hearing this fairy tale about how I had like a tumor or something in my brain, right? But what happened was I always knew it was kind of weird, right? So years ago, I went to go in the military, and I met with these doctors, and they're like, dude, you got 2 holes in your head. I'm like, duh, right? And you can see the scars a lot better back then. And so I was talking to them, and none of the things the doctor said to me matched up with the things that my parents said to me when I was growing up, right? And so a couple years ago, I'm talking to my wife. These are my friends over here, by the way. They came down here today. because they care about you guys and they care about what I'm gonna do after I'm done talking to you guys. After I'm done talking to you guys, I'm gonna do something for you guys. Truck, how much money am I making today?
Hopefully a couple thousand.
No, I mean, how much you paying me? How much you paying me to be here today?
Free. This guy came all the way from up north, probably 6-7 hour drive.
No mom, take the
Right, and then right? And I'm gonna cut some money out of my pocket for you guys today to make you guys look good, because this really today has zero to do with it. But check this out, we're gonna get back to this, right? So a couple years ago, my wife and I are talking, and I'm reading this thing, and come to find out that everything that happened to me comes from, you ever heard of shaken baby syndrome? What's that? I see some heads nodding in the back. Man, what's shaken baby? What's that all about? She's like, oh my God, don't talk to me. Huh?
When you pick up a child and shake it.
You pick up a child and shake. My mom tried to shake me to death. It shook me so bad that my brain, how many of you guys know what a concussion is, right? You hear like football players and stuff get a concussion, right? Don't know what's a concussion is. You know what it is? It's when you get your bell rung real hard, right? But do anybody know what it actually is? Check it out. So your brain, right? Your brain floats in fluid, right? So your brain's in like a goldfish bowl, right? It's called your skull, right? So your brain's floating around there, right? But if you get shook hard enough, what happens? Huh? It smacks your skull, right? Hits your brain, your skull, and it bruises your brain. How do you fix a bruised brain? You can't. You hope that it gets better, right? There's no magic wand for a bruised brain, right? That's why you see football players when they're like 45, 50, dude, they're stumbling and bumbling, right? Those defensive linemen and stuff that you see playing, man, them guys can barely talk, right? You see boxers when they get older, they can barely talk because their brain's been bruised so many times, man, it disconnects a bunch of stuff. But when you do it to a baby, right? A baby ain't a professional boxer, right? A baby isn't a football player. He's not a big, strong kid, right? You're a baby. 6 weeks old, my mom tried to shake me to death. Neat trick, huh? So abuse, I get it. Go back to that. Parents, right? So I had an old man. Old man used to like to drink, right? We've probably seen that. You probably got some folks you know like to drink, right? The right ones, when my dad would drink, he had to get hella mean. Right? So my dad, like, you look at me, and I'm a big fat old white guy, right? You look at my dad. My dad was straight up silverback gorilla. I'm not built like my dad. My dad had fingers. Like, you're a big dude, right? Let's see how big you are, right? So you got big hands, right? My old man's hands, it's no joke. You put your two thumbs together, you look at the sides of your nails. So my dad had hands that looked like Godzilla, dude. Right? So my dad would drink, he'd get mad. He'd get frustrated with my mom, and then he'd come take it out on me because, you know, he was tired of fighting with her. And my mom would be frustrated with my dad, come beat the hell out of me. So at some point, around, I don't know, 14 and a half, 14, 15, I joined a gang. One of two that I joined in my life, but we already talked about one, right? You join the military, right? You're like, man, military and a gang. Dude, they give you guns, and they let you represent, and they encourage you to do it, right? And so you're looking for somebody to hang out with. You're looking for somebody that has some common values with you. You're looking for somebody that has, you know, you feel like you're slighted by all these other people in your life and stuff, right? You go in the military, and suddenly you got all these people around you that are like, I got your back, man. That's a good feeling, right? And that's what when we're out on the street and we got all this messed up stuff happening to us, right? We look for those kinds of affiliations because we ain't getting them from the relationships in our life, right? So I joined like the largest gang I could. I joined the military, right on. And so that kind of worked out, right? So probably don't feel respected. So I grew up. I was a good kid in school, man. I was a good kid, period, right? I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna like try to front and be something I was. I was a pretty smart kid. I could read really well, right? I tested well. I hated going to school though, right? I just didn't see I was at a point in my life where I'd gone to school. Things hadn't gone well, right? Things haven't gone well for you, right? Middle schools, right? My middle school guys, you should probably be up over in those buildings over there, but you're not. You're up over here. So all I wanted to do in high school was work. Why do you think I wanted to work?
Make money.
Make money. What you gonna do with that money, man?
Me?
What would you do with it?
Buy a lot of bud.
For real, fair enough, man. It's an honest answer. I appreciate that, but I'm also gonna appreciate you getting your feet off that table. Thank you. All right, so check it out. At least that's an honest answer, right? So what do I want money for? I got to like 8th grade, somewhere around the middle of 8th grade. My parents quit buying me food. quit buying me clothes. My dad was like, you're old enough to work, you buy your own. So I started going to work. I started going to work when I was 12. Creepy thing was my dad, right? My dad was the hard ass, right? My dad wanted me to teach me all these life lessons. So by the time I was 14, I figured out how to make money, and my dad made me file a tax return. Creepy, right? 14 years old, I filed a first tax return because I was working a lot. And then my parents would take the money. Yeah, I know, right? Right? So then you get frustrated, right? You get disenfranchised with your family. You don't feel like you have any voice. You're like, oh, that's not fair, but ain't nobody looking out for it. So you start looking out for people that don't want to look out for it. You get disenchanted. You get disenchanted with school. Anybody know what disenchanted means? If you're enchanted, right, you're like under a spell, right? So like in a fairy tale, right? The princess is in love with the prince. She follows, right? It's this enchanted story, right? As soon as I said prince, man, he starts looking around. He starts talking to the girls. Oh, see? All right. When you're disenchanted, what does dis mean? What's the prefix dis? What's it mean? Means not. Right? So you're not enamored with school. You're not enamored with family. Maybe you're not enamored with your friends, but you do like the worst thing on earth you could ever do to yourself. You start lying to yourself. You start telling yourself stories about how it's going to work out, and it just doesn't. What happens is we don't foster those relationships with people like Mr. Clark, like Tom?
Tony.
Tony, pardon me. Tony, what's your last name?
Espinoza.
Mr. Tony Espinosa over there, right? How many of you guys got Mr. Espinosa? I was going to tell you right now, man. I've talked to him like 4 sentences in my life, but I'm just going to tell you how he greeted me and how he looked me in the eye. He's a good guy. Who came to see you today? Y'all came to see me, whether you liked it or not, right? My friends came to see me today, right? My friend Anna over there, my friend Denise, right? My wife came and supported me, right? Who came to see you?
You. The teacher.
Seriously, man. Yeah. And you know what? Right? Like that seems like a real cheesy answer, right? Because you started laughing after you said it. And I get it. But the truth is, they could be teaching in another environment where people don't come in and curse them every day, and people don't give them a hard time, and people don't have cute stuff to say. Right? At some point in here, I'm probably going to say the word shit or poop or crap, right? So y'all get this. There's a guy on the camera right here. He's going to catch me. Mr. Clark, I'll just apologize now. So, right? So you get sick of those kinds of things, right? And you don't have this relationship with those guys. But those guys, they came here for you today. They could be somewhere else with a different crowd, doing a different thing, and a lot less headaches. That's the truth. Now, you can lie to yourself and say, nah, I didn't like that. That fool just needed a job. He couldn't cut it somewhere else with. Don't lie to yourself. You don't do a job like this and not take kids. Guys that used to have my old job, they'd last 2 years out. They'd eat them up. Guys like Trucker have been around. Trucker, how long you been in all that?
My 25th year.
25 years. How many?
7.
Seven.
In all dead, 7.
All dead. How about you?
About 7.
About 7, ma'am?
10.
10. Boom.
7.
7. How about you, young man?
First year teaching.
First year teacher.
Right.
Hoorah, man. How your shin, son? They tie you up yet? No? They abuse you yet?
But I have a lot of years experience working.
I got a lot. Look at, man, he's got his arms crossed. He's like, I got a lot of years, man. I'm old, son. Like your first year, right? Your first year all dead, or
My first year teaching.
first year just teaching, period, in the environment? Right on, man. How's it going?
I love it, man.
Dude, you hear that? I love it. First thing he said out of his mouth, I love it. He could have been like, it's rough, or they're cool. Nah, he said, I love it. How about you, man? First year. You gonna survive? You gonna come back? How about you, sir?
8 or 9 years in all dead, and
Right on.
30 years overall.
30 years overall. You've been around.
Yeah.
You thought I was old. All right. Good. 30 years, dude. All right. He does. It's great. I'll tell you just a real quick sidebar, man. I started having kids show up about because I left, like, you know, juvenile hall, like, people don't come to visit you, right? So I started to teach out in this little country school, right? Like out in the middle of nowhere. I'm out in the cuts, right? It's, I mean, for real, too. If you saw, I'm at a school that's bigger than the town where I'm teaching. The town where I'm teaching is 230 people. I got 200 and like, I don't know, 60 in my school and like 140 kinder through like second grade in the other little country school. I got more kids in my school than people that live in the town. So when I tell you I'm in the middle of nowhere, out in nowhere, right? When I left the hall, like, I didn't want to see anybody. I just didn't. So I picked the farthest corner to be away from everybody. Because I was done. I was done with people. I was done with kids hurting each other. I was done with a lot of stuff. So 30 years, man, I can respect that. I was going to ask her, but she asked her. Hey, Miss B, really? You talking during the presentation? You know you can't do that. Man, that's such a bad example for the youth. They get mad at you.
You was a
Huh?
beautiful lady in the back.
Well, did I miss you?
Yeah.
Well, she was testing somebody earlier, so I thought she was coming to grab a kid. I didn't want to get in trouble. How long you been doing this?
Here at about 12 years.
12 years in all that? Oh yeah, she tough right there, dude. All right, and you? 10 years in all that. You're tough too. I was gonna tell you that right now. You don't do this job, right? People used to say back to me, why'd you quit, right? So I still see kids on the street. Dude, I'm jumping stories all over the place. I told you I started seeing little kids out in the country school. I'm starting to see my old students, when I first started teaching, I'm starting to see their kids, right? That's a weird deal. So, people ask me why I quit, right? And so the reason why I quit being a principal, and I quit with you guys, it was never about like crazy kids. Like, I love crazy kids. I love crazy situations. Trucker will tell you, man, you throw me out when people are fighting stuff, I shine. I love it. I love when stuff is nutty. I love when the kid flips out. Get my attention, son. You got a hug coming, man. I'm gonna walk right back there and I'm gonna hug you in front of everybody. He's like, he ain't talking to me, especially I'm talking to him. I'm not that guy. All right, so problem is, right? I got frustrated with the people that I worked with weren't looking out for kids. I didn't have bosses that had 25 years, that had 15 years, that had 10 years. I had these bosses that came in that they weren't about kids, and it got real frustrating because I was busting my butt and I was putting up with some nonsense I shouldn't have had to put up with. And you need somebody to support you during those times, right? So when I say who came here for you today, if nobody in your life came here for you today, other than those people, they were here. It could have been somewhere else. And you can lie to yourself and say, nah, I didn't like that. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's like that. Not only is it like that, it takes some dedication to come here and listen to some nonsense every day. And you guys know you give these guys a hard time, right? I've been around longer than you, like I know. I was that guy. So, wasn't joking about my mom either, right? I used to call my mom and be like, the police are coming. My mom would get old mad and start cursing me on the phone and such. Like, that's not funny. So, anyways, my mom came here a long time ago. This is nutty, right? See, they're laughing because it doesn't make sense, right? So, my mom came here from England a long time ago, right? After World War II, so big crazy war. And so things were different back then. So what happened was my mom lost her Social Security card, right? Like when she was, young, like in her 20s, right? And when she went to the immigration, when she went to apply for Social Security, when my father passed away, the Social Security guy was like, "Yeah, I need your Social Security card." I'm like, I haven't had a Social Security card in like 40 years. The guy's like, "Well, I need your birth certificate." My mom's like, "That ain't happening either." The guy gets like all pissy with it, right? Like, "Well, why not? You have to have it, or you have to fill out this form, and it's got to have the birth certificate." My mom's like, "Well, the Germans bombed the hospital where I was born, and it doesn't exist anymore, so what would you like me to do?" The guy sits there in his jaw, right? And then goes right back to the stupid script and is like, "Well, you have to have a birth certificate." It's like, dude, you don't get it, right? And so at some point, they declared my mom an illegal alien, and so, yeah, that was kind of interesting, right? Because you just don't think of that in your head, right? We think when we hear like immigrants, right, we think of people of color, right? Whether that's brown, right? Whether that's Asian, whatever that is. We don't ever think of kind of white immigrants. It's an interesting way to look at things. All right, how we doing? You guys doing all right? All right, you could be in class, doing some other thing you don't want to do. No, the teachers, I know you guys love your teachers. Can't wait to get back to class. All right, so we got this, we got that. You all right? All right. Don't worry about the camera, man. We'll blur your face out later on. All right. So, you get it, you kinda get who I am now, a little bit? I wanna make sure I didn't miss anything here. So many things in my head I wanna tell you guys that people just won't tell you, or you're not gonna wanna hear, and you'll be like, I ain't listening to this fool. There we go. The greatest thing on earth is coffee. I love it probably more than my wife. And she's standing right there, but she will tell you. Before I talk to her, I reach for coffee. Don't worry, dude, she's been married to me for 27 years, dude. She married me when I was skinny and good looking, man, so I fooled her, and I was like, I'm actually a fat old white guy, I got you. All right, so let's see here. Yeah, I did that. All right, so we'll start talking about relationships a little bit, and then I'm just gonna give you the big life lesson, and then I'm gonna get you guys out of here. All right, so we talked about moms and like people being disappointed and stuff. So the reason why I came back on Mr. Clark's radar was I started a couple years ago. I started thinking about different things. Right? So I told you I quit being a principal and stuff, right? I did that for a bunch of reasons, right? But one of them was that I started having these ideas about. I was tired of being pissed off. I just was. I was tired of being angry about where I live. I live in some place I never wanted to live. Yeah. So I was a young man. I was in the military. My dad was getting ready to die, and my mom. And so I went in the military to get away from my parents. I'll tell you that right now. Right? I went in the military when I was 17. I put an ocean between me and my family. I put the Pacific Ocean. I went all the way to Okinawa. I got as far away from my family as I could because I knew that they were toxic, man. I couldn't be around them anymore. Right? They weren't looking out for me. I had to go. So 17, I went in the military. And so what happens is that somewhere in there, my mom goes to the military, and they're like, hey, Rob's dad's dying. She put in to have me transferred back to the States so I can be closer to my dad. I was like, closer to my dad? The fool tried to kill me, man. Are you kidding me? You tried to kill me, like, right? I don't want to be anywhere near you people. But the military had already processed it through this organization called the Red Cross, and so they moved me back to the States. And so when I met my now wife, who was my girlfriend, I was like, I didn't want to be there. I associate nothing but bad things with the place where I live. It brought me back to the people that I knew were bad for me. It brought me to a town that I didn't want to live in. I lived in Okinawa, man. You guys know where Okinawa is? Okinawa is a little island south of Japan, right? They call it Japan's Hawaii. Dude, it's tropical, man. Palm trees, jungle, beaches, ocean. You can ride your bike from one side of the island to the other in about 45 minutes. It's this long little skinny island. It's beautiful, y'all. Like, for reals. And it's the kind of beautiful that we don't get here, right? You live in Southern California, right? You drive out to Newport Beach or something, right? You see some nice houses, but it's solid all the way to the beach, right? It's houses. Okinawa, dude, it was jungle and grass, like a pocket of a city here, and then it was wide open. It was cool. It's kind of what you think Hawaii should be in your head, except for then when you get to Hawaii, right? It looks like a mall when you land, right? Like Hawaii, you got to drive halfway up the island before you see green, and it starts looking kind of natural, and it's the thing that you think in your head. Okinawa was like that, and I was like, I was 17, 18, 19, 20. I was good looking. I had some money in my pocket. See, my life was good. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Sorry, honey. They shipped me to this place I didn't want to be, and I was like, oh man, you gotta be kidding me. I'm back. I am back like just a couple hours from where I did not want to be. It sucked. So what happened was, I've never wanted to live in that town. I just didn't. So for a long time I had a lot of resentment, and I never connected with people. I never talked to people. I never like walked into I never went to like events out in the community, right? Little fundraisers or whatever. Like I didn't have neighbors. I didn't talk to nobody. I didn't want to be there. And I didn't feel like I belonged there. I felt like everything that got me there was wrong. Only thing that good that happened in my life there was my wife. Right? But I looked at my wife and I was like, we gotta go. She didn't want to go. She had family, right? She loved her family. I didn't have any family. I hated my family, right? So I got a bunch of y'all, right? A bunch of y'all are, how many of y'all got brothers and sisters? Pretty much everybody, yeah? Yeah, I have a brother or a sister, right? So my parents hated each other. They took it out on me. I was the only kid. Everybody's like, "Oh, you're the only kid. You're white. You're lucky." I was like, "Nah, dude. You don't get it. You don't get it at all." I wasn't lucky. It sucked, man. I admire people with large families. I admire people that, right? How many guys go to like quinceañeras and christenings, and you have like those big family blowouts and stuff, right? Girls are the only ones who are honest about it, right? But we all do, right? You guys go to those things, and maybe you're not feeling the stuff, but dude, I admire that, right? I admire the fact that you have a network of people, like your cousins, like everybody's kind of around. I didn't have any of that. I was jealous of it. I needed those relationships. I didn't have them. So here I was a young adult. I was working. I worked for a guy in the military. I worked for Gallo, worked for the world's largest winery for a while. They don't give you free samples. It sucked. All right. So I started kind of doing these things. I moved through my life. I started teaching. I dug teaching. It was super cool. I went to school. I was super focused. Right. I had a lot of hardships when I was going through school. I was going through school. I got cancer. Right, so I'd already had like double brain surgery. I had these holes in my head. I had my neck broken years ago. I'd been hit by an armored personnel carrier. I'd had all this like creepy stuff happen to me. I'm going through school, and I whipped school's ass, man. I did. I was going along. I did my bachelor's in 2 years. You're gonna watch the adults over here in the room. They're gonna be looking at me in disbelief here in a second. My third year of college, I did my teaching credential. And I did what are called my professional clear units, right? So I did, when you first start teaching, they give you a credential. They say, hey, you got to take so many units, right, to clear your credential, right, to show that you're a professional. I had my bachelor's in 2, my teaching credential, and all my clear units, my third, right? I was good at school, man. I'm good with checklists. I'm good at tasks, right? But the reason why I bring that up is that somewhere right there in the middle of that, I just kind of was getting ready for graduation. I was getting ready to, a friend of mine got married. Got married up in Seattle, and he's like, hey, man, you got to come to my wedding, Doc. I was like, Todd, man, it's a crazy time right now. It's like, no, you got to come up here. We're renting a sailboat. I'm sorry. We're renting a sailboat. I'm going to go out on this sailboat. I'm going to sail out in the Channel Islands off of Seattle and stuff. And I was like, man, that sounds awesome. My child will come up. I'll make it happen. So I go up there, and we're sailing, and I know I've got to come back and go to school. I got to go to summer school. How many of y'all got to do summer school? Y'all got summer school? No summer school? Summer school. Nobody wants to go to it. So you guys got to do summer school? Summer school suck, man. It sucked for me, it's gonna suck for you. Guess what? You gotta do it. It's just one of those tasks. Look, they're cringing right now. They're like, Dad, you can't say things like that to a kid. Don't worry, when we get to the end, you'll see why I say it, right? Because at some point, you gotta quit lying to yourself and you just gotta do what you gotta do. One of those things is you gotta get graduated. So if you gotta do summer school, go do summer school. Don't lie to yourself. You don't need it. You don't need it later on. You may not need it right now. You may not care about it right now. Trust me, when you're like 35, 40, and you got a little kid, you not want to look at your kid and be like, oh, I dropped down and gave up because it was too hard. It ain't too hard. So here's what happened to me, man. I'm sailing with my buddy. Kind of cool, right? Like super white people fantasy. We're on a yacht. We're sailing. We're cool. Hey, have a toast, my friend. Right? And so the whole time I was miserable because I hurt. It felt like somebody had kicked me down here. Right? Down like here, right? It felt like somebody kicked me in the elbows, and it hurt. And it didn't hurt like when you do get kicked in the elbows, and it's like, that hurts, and then like 20 minutes later, you're like, oh, dude, you got it. It wasn't like that, day and night, for like a couple days. And I went to the doctor. But what ends up happening is that it turns out that I had cancer, right? Yeah, lucky me, right? Not bad enough, I got crappy parents and all this abuse and nonsense, right? And so I was like, right? And my dad had died a couple years before from cancer. So I was a little freaked out. I was a lot freaked out. So I look at the doctor, and I'm sitting in this room by myself. My wife's at work. And I'm thinking about it. And this guy just told me I had cancer. My dad just died a couple years before. And I'm like, sucks. And right there, I made this like crazy decision. I was like, hey, this is a task. I'm gonna go do this task. Whatever they tell me I gotta do, I'm gonna do. Right? And so right in the middle of all my teaching and all that stuff, and where these guys are like, holy smoke, how did you do that in 3 years? I got cancer. And so my day would start out like this. I would go to the doctor's, and I would walk in the door, and I would say some smart aleck thing, kind of like you guys said to me when you were first walking in the room. I would say it to the mean nurse lady that guarded the door then went back to the room because she didn't like me. Because I would say smart aleck things for her. She thought I was being disrespectful. I walked in one day and I had a shirt that said F cancer, right? This is back in the day before those shirts existed. Now you can go buy them, right? She looked at me and she was like, "You can't wear that shirt in here." I was like, "You have cancer?" She's like, "No." I was like, "Shut it." And I'd walk in the back. And so this is how my day would start every day. I would climb up on a table, naked, right? So you get up on this table, right? And they got this great big X-ray machine looking thing, right? It's a big laser beams. And so they gave me some really cool tattoos, right? I got the 4 dots. I'm legit, except for my 4 dots look a little different than some of yours, right? Mine's here, 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 and here. But I was a lot skinnier then, so they were a lot closer together. And so the machine, not even enough coffee for what you're about to hear. They would put me up on this table, and so I volunteered to work with medical students every morning. And so they would bring in the medical students because they had to learn how to use the machines and stuff. And so every day they would throw me on the table, and they would take my little jiggly bits there, and they put them in this iron like grapefruit looking thing, right? So they would take your junk and they'd put it in this grapefruit, and you're laying there naked with some stranger that's, you know, trying to make you feel comfortable and not weird, but it's weird, right? And so they'd put this machine over me, and every day for 7 weeks straight, I would get up and I would start my day. How many of you guys have ever had an X-ray? You had an X-ray? You had an X-ray, man? What's the first thing they do with you with an X-ray? Did they give you a thing? Do you kind of remember that?
Yeah.
What did they give you?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a shield, right? Like an apron kind of looking thing. But you don't want to say apron because you're a guy and you don't want the girls to think you know what an apron is. It's cool, right? So they give you like an apron, right? It's made out of lead. And so that when they zap you with the radiation, it doesn't hurt you, right? No apron, bro. No apron. They radiated me from nipple to kneecap every day. So there's a sign on the wall, right? And the sign on the wall says danger, must stand behind this wall, must stand behind this point, blah, 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 and it had this health code. So one day I was bored and I looked it up. And it was the clinical exposure. It told you how much radiation you could be exposed to in a year, right? And so because if you work in that situation, you're around x-rays and that kind of stuff every day, right? You don't want to get zapped every day, right?
Oh.
Every single day they would zap me with what we call clinical exposure. They would zap me with 430 years worth of radiation. Nipple to kneecap, right? They would zap me with enough radiation for what a person who works in that industry every day, their clinical exposure rate for 430 years. I got that every day. I got 430 years worth every day, 5 days a week that the clinic was open for 7 weeks straight to kill what was alive inside of my body. Cancer started down here and started to move up into my stomach, right? So we never really explained to my wife how, gnarly it was, but it was gnarly. My wife would go to work not knowing what was going to happen to me. She'd drop me off in the morning. I would go through all that, and then I'd go to school. And the worst thing you can do is lie to yourself, right? So what I did is I never lied to myself. I said, hey, I'm going to finish school. I'm going to finish what I started because I know, even though I don't need it right now, I'm going to need it later on, right? You think you got stuff hard in your life. Everybody got stuff hard in their life. In a minute here, I'm going to show you a picture of a kid from down the road here. Right? And I'm going to show you how this is all going to come full circle. So here we go. I got about 17 minutes left. I got like a 5-minute story for you, and then I'm going to show you this picture, and I'm going to tell you why I'm here today. All right, here you go. So you can pardon me because I don't read, because I don't want to mess it up. But if you have ignored me up until now, don't ignore me now, please. Okay? This is the big deal here. This is the moment right here. Yeah? This is the teachable moment. Who knows what a parable is? Oh, a parable. You ever heard that term? P-A-R-A-B-L-E? You might have heard it when you were like 7th, 8th grade. It made you read some like story that had a lesson to it. All right, so a parable teaches you some sort of life lesson, right? And there's lots of them all through history, right? Bible's full of them. It's really kind of how we pass down stories to people, right? How else do you do? Like real estate, like for real, like I can get up on the streets and you wouldn't notice, or You'll be all right. I know you had a hard night last night. So did I. I drove 5 hours, came here and had to sleep like some weirdo bed out by the airport. And it sucked, man. And then I started thinking about what am I going to say to you guys and just get through. But here's the part I want to get through. So you're going to figure out who you are in this story, and you're going to figure out, yeah, you're cracking me up. You're going to figure out how all this stuff kind of applies to you here. And if you don't figure it out, if you don't figure the story out like right now, you're going to blame people for nonsense that just ain't theirs for the rest of your life. This is like the best lesson you can learn right here, and we never learn it. Somebody should have told me this when I was a kid, and nobody did. All right, here we go. The little bird was supposed to be flying south for the winter, but instead, he chose not to listen to the older birds who were nagging at him and decided to stay behind. He was up there in Canada. Y'all know what Canada is, right? So, north, right? What's Canada like weather-wise? Colder, right? It's way colder than down here at the beach, right? And so, he's like, man, dog, that's too much work to fly all the way down to Florida. So these birds, they happen to migrate all the way down to Florida, right? He didn't want to do it. That's too much work. How many times do we tell ourselves that? We tell ourselves that all the time. You can lie to yourself, but it don't matter, right? It's too much work. I ain't going all that way, dog. So, despite the sound advice from his elders, he chose to stay behind. Soon, winter came and it was freezing cold outside. He was by himself and he realized, man, I should have gone to Florida. These guys are all nice and warm. They're hanging out at the beach. That could be me. There's still time for me to catch up. How many times do we tell ourselves that? We tell ourselves that all the time, right? Man, I'll make that up. I'll catch up. I got this. Don't worry about it. Trekker, you're tripping, dude. You won't graduate. You'll see. Right? So, still time for me to catch up. I'll just do it now. And off he flew, right? So he's flying along, and he gets so cold that his little birdie wings freeze. What happens when a bird's wings freeze? They fall from grace, right? They fall from the sky. None of us have ever done that, have we? Right? So now a little bird without a working wing, he's in really bad shape, especially in the wintertime. And he knows kind of in his head, he's like, man, this is horrible, dude. This can't get any worse. He sort of knew that his life was over, and he decided he was going to accept his fate and die with some dignity. I'll go out my way. So he's laying in this field, feeling sorry for himself, telling himself all these little stories, telling himself all these little lies. So as he's saying his little final prayers, this cow walks over to the bird on the ground, and he sees a little bird lying there, right? He sees him, sees the bird's breathing, kind of frozen. The cow reaches down to help him, but the bird ain't listening. The cow kind of turns and poops on him. Right? Just crapped on me. Get the hell out of here. Right? The cow's like, no, man, I'm just trying to help you. You just shit on me, dude. What are you doing? You can't do that. Go to crap now. Get the out of here. Right? So the bird sat there, his pride hurt, covered with poop. He's like, man, this is no way to die. And he began to cry because he was so humiliated. But as he lay there, covered in cow poop, waiting for death to come, he noticed that he was feeling more and more comfortable over time. Right? He's like, oh man, I'm starting to feel kind of warm. And he starts moving his little birdie wing. And he's like, oh, I can move my wing. I can fly. Oh yeah, this ain't so bad after all, right? So a couple hours goes by and he realizes he's not going to freeze to death, right? And he's laying there on his back, and he's making sure, that everything's kind of working. And he's like, oh, man, how much crap have I got myself into, right? Oh, so he starts kind of reaching around, and kind of gets himself situated. He figures it all out, and he starts chirping. He's all happy. He's like, oh, I'm alive. I'm going to make it. Ha! I'm going to Florida. Everything's going to work out all right. So he starts singing, right? He's all happy, he realizes that it's not the end of the world. And as he's singing, he gets the attention of a cat. The old barn cat, right? The barn cat's like, what? What is that? What is that? Is that a bird? It's the middle of winter, man. There ain't no birds around here. So the cat comes strolling up, right? The cat's like, hey, man, you gonna be all right, man. We'll get you cleaned up here. Come on, man, come on. He takes him over. He's like, oh, man, that cow, dude, that cow messed you up, dog. That cow messed you up. You gotta get away from that cow, man. So he takes him and cleans him off, right? Gets him all brushed off, right? Takes him over, gives him a little shower, right? Takes him to the hose, right? Pumps some water over him, sprays him off the hose, gets him all clean. Bird's like, oh, yeah, man. Thanks, bro. Thank you. Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And the cat ate him in the end. All right. There's a lot of stuff in there, right? There's a lot of lessons to be learned in there, right? Who's a bird? You don't know? Bird could be you. Right? How many bad decisions have we made? How many, right? We're sitting in this room. We should be sitting in another room somewhere else in town. But we made some decisions here because we got all these situations. Right? We get disenfranchised with school. We don't have a relationship with the people around us. We don't want to listen to the people around us. We don't want to do any of those kinds of things, right? And so, well, I gotta go quick. All right. So here we go. Lesson number 1, right? Listening when you should. Yeah? Sorry, my handwriting's kind of sloppy today. I'm out of practice, right? Listen when you should. We don't do it. We lie to ourselves and say, I ain't gotta listen to that fool. I ain't gotta do that. I ain't nah, right? We get stopped by our PO, we get stopped on the street, we get people hit us up. We got key things to say, right? This is the big one right here. Not everyone who poops on you is out to get you. Huh? This is the hardest one for us to wrap our head around, right? Your teacher's on your butt, your mom's on your butt, abuelita, tia, whoever you're living with, your foster parent, your right, special ed teacher, the liaison, the probation officer, whatever. They're on your case. They're trying to tell you the right thing to do. They're pooping on you every day, and you're like, man, that fool, nah. You got things to say. And you don't tell yourself all these stories to make it okay. But the truth is that not everybody who poops on you is out to get you. And that's a hard thing to wrap your head around. It's a hard thing to wrap your head around when you're in middle school, right? I'm sorry I don't have more seniors here right now, right? Because usually I have to talk to seniors because by the time you're a senior, right, and you start realizing that you're not going to be here anymore, right? So you guys are at this point where you still know you got a couple years in front of you, and you're going to tell yourself, oh, I can catch up. Oh, I can make it to Florida. Oh, I can do this, right? But it's cool to have this talk with seniors because seniors know that the door is right there and that they're there in June. And that when they walk out the door, they got to deal with all that stuff that they've been putting off because they ain't a little kid no more. And ain't nobody going to come looking out for you. You're going to make some bad decisions and you're going to have to be responsible for them. You're not going to have people like Mr. Clark, right? You're not going to have people looking out for you, telling you it's going to be okay, right? Or you're going to have plenty of people who, right? Which gets you to the next one, right? Which gets you to not everyone who, I'm going to put the word helps in quotes, helps you out is your friend. Not everyone who helps you out is your friend. You're going to have lots of people that are going to hit you up and be like, yo, dog, you don't got to listen to that cow. You don't listen to that shit. They will brush you off on the back, and the cat's going to come and eat you. I had 17 kids die on me in 2009 because they had people helping them out. They had people who had their back. They had folks that We're looking out for them. And don't think that 17 was like the magic number. That just happened to be that year. I've had enough kids. I've had more kids than are in this room. Right? I've had more than all of y'all dying. Right? Over dumb stuff, not over a single solid reason. Right? You get tired of hearing it, right? And I'm gonna tell you right now, not everyone who helps you, right, who wipes that poop off you and tells you, you don't need that cow, you don't need that stuff, they're not there to help you, right? And that's a hard thing to get our head around, right? Because those are the people right now, right, that you're reaching out, that you're trying to, right? Because you didn't have any of those things that were on the board before. You didn't have somebody at home looking out for you, you didn't have somebody at school, or you didn't have a family member, whatever it was. We go looking for it somewhere else, and we get talked into some dumb stuff. I'm just gonna tell you, man, not everybody who tries to help you out is your friend, right? Then last, for real? All right. If you are in deep poo, if you're in deep poo, you got to know when to keep your mouth shut. True or false? Look at them laughing back there, right? Is it true? Am I lying? Did you learn this life lesson early enough? Because I didn't. I'll let me tell you right now, right? 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 If you're in deep, right? You got to know when to keep your mouth shut, right? And this gets us in trouble so much, right? We get hit up by our PO, right? They start dropping that poo on us, so man, we got things to say, right? When we get in over our head. Right on the street, we get caught up in some nonsense, right? We want to play tough guy and run around, right? We don't know what to say, things go bad. They just go poorly, right? We don't know when to keep our mouth shut. I never knew when to keep my mouth shut. It's cost me a ton of opportunities, right? I could have been a superintendent by now. I'm wicked book smart, right? But the reason why, right, I have a bunch of tattoos. I got tattoos from right across my forearms, all the way across my back, right? I take my watch off, right? They're even underneath my watch, right? So I knew what these things cost me. These things in the last 10 years cost me, I don't know, better part of about $300,000 in salary, right? Which is nutty, right? We all make choices, we all make mistakes, right? We don't know when to keep our mouth shut. I don't know when to keep my mouth shut. I still make this mistake. This is the second hardest one to learn. This is the hardest one to admit to, right? This is the easiest one to get to. At some point in your young lives, you'll wrap your head around this. You will realize that the people that are trying to help you out and correct you, and you're like, man, why are they hassling me, right? You'll realize sooner or later that they're not out to get you. This is pretty easy. This is harder to recognize, right? We make some dumb mistakes, right? And so I'm gonna play a video clip for you guys here real quick, right? So, let's see here. You might recognize this guy. How many of you guys know who Danny Trejo is? Right, you see like Trejo's tacos and stuff? Who's Danny Trejo, man? He's an actor, right? He's an old school Mexican cat, right? So I used to see Danny Trejo at car shows all the time, right? So we're about 15 minutes, man. So I want you to listen real close to what he says right here. Go ahead and play.
Can I just talk about killing someone? No. All of a sudden, we're talking about the loneliness of prison, not the thinking how tough we were. We're talking about the sadness. We're talking about all the hurt. We're talking about the time, how you feel just before you fall asleep. See, because you keep a good front on all the time, just before you fall asleep. And everybody in prison, just before they fall asleep, the thought is, gee, I wish I was home. That's one of those thoughts. And everything good that has happened to me has happened as a direct result of that.
Stop. Can we back that up just like 10 seconds? Did anybody hear what he just said? Was it hard to understand? You trust me to tell you? I'm going to play it again. Trust me to tell you? Here's what he said, right? He's talking about being in prison, right? And realizing that this ain't happening in his life, right? Danny Trejo's locked up, and he's talking about right? Having to watch your back in prison, watch your back out in the street, watch your back in your life, watch your back with your family, all these things that had disenfranchised him, disenchanted him. And he's talking about how people weren't looking out for him, right? And that the moment where you're most relaxed is right before you go to sleep. And he says to himself, man, I wish I was home. I wish I was around people that cared about me. Yeah? And then he says, the only good thing that's ever happened in my life is when I've helped someone else. That's why I'm here today, right? So if you guys can wrap your head around any one of these three things right here, right? Learn real quick in your head that not everybody who poops on you is out to get you, right? Learn that not everyone who helps you out, not everyone who helps you out and encourages you to do something, right? Not everybody's your friend, right? You need to surround yourselves with people that have your best interest at heart. And that's a hard thing to start wrapping our heads around when we start looking for. That bell's annoying, y'all. I feel like a stewardess is going to come bring a drink card and offer me peanuts in a second. All right. All right. The sooner you figure out, and this is hard, man, because we're going to lie to ourselves and we're going to tell ourselves that it ain't like that, right? Is that surrounding yourself with people that have your best interest at heart. Your best interest, not theirs. Not whatever the situation may be, right? That you get yourself into, where you're around people that are all saying things, right? Where you all feel like some camaraderie and stuff, but they are not looking out for you personally, your best interest at heart. You need to surround yourselves with people that have your best interest at heart. And so I told you a long time ago, I said, when we started, I said, I'm here for a very specific reason. I'm going to help you guys sit down. I'm going to help you guys look good. You got some kids here that are part of a leadership program, right? And so you will notice these folks came out today. They're going to help me. I'm going to work with a group of about 10 kids. We're going to do a fundraiser for a program here in your community, a thing called Mercy House. Maybe some of you have like a relative or somebody that maybe stayed at one of those things, right? It helps people out that are, kind of like battered one, folks that are need some emergency shelter, something like that, right? We're going to do a fundraiser, right? With those guys, right, on your behalf. So it's going to be your guys' name on it, right? I already made some stuff. We're going to sell some stuff on the internet real quick. It's going to go really fast. And what's going to happen is the students on your campus are going to cut that organization the check for $1,000 today. And it's going to make you guys look kind of good in your community, right? I get nothing for that. Right? The reason why I'm going to do it is I'm going to show you a picture here in a second, and hopefully it sets in, right? You need to surround yourself with people who are looking out for you, that have your best interests at heart, right? And nothing good ever really happens until you start helping other people be successful. Why'd you come out today, Anna?
To support you?
To support you, right? We ever met in person?
Not for more than 5 minutes.
How would you describe what I do?
Selfless.
That's a good description. Dee, how about you? Why are you out here today?
I wanted to hear you speak. Come see these kids.
Right. All right. How would you describe what I do?
Oh, what you do is amazing. Yeah, you're the most spectacular man I've ever met.
Wow.
Good stuff.
Yeah, right? So, hey, I don't know what they're going to say, right? I have a hard time explaining what I do to people, but a couple years ago, when I decided not to teach anymore, I had this idea that I wanted to figure out how to help people, right? And I came up with this idea on how to use kind of like Facebook and the internet to sell things to people, and then I take all the money and I give the money away, right? So you see the little logo on my back right with the pig? That's what was tattooed on my wrist and stuff, right? I tattooed that on my wrist when I gave away $100,000. You ever give away $100,000? Dog, I don't even make $100,000. I won't tell you that right now. I work in the 34th lowest paying county in the state, and I work for the 16th lowest paying school in that school district, right? So I don't make any money, man. I've given away in the last 3.5 years. I've given away $800,000. You don't have to be good at math to know that's a lot of freaking money, right? And so the way I did it, right? The thing I'm going to do right now, and I'm going to show you. Can we get out of this?
That's happened. That's what I'm doing.
Right. Everything good in my life that's happened is a direct result of helping others. We'll go to the doc. All right. Can we scroll this up?
Oh, I saw that.
You saw that?
Yeah, I saw that.
Is that a kid helping on his mom?
Oh yeah, this is my buddy Johnny Quintana, right? So he lives next town over, right? Saw this little boy yesterday going through my trash cans. This is right up the road from y'all, right? Caught him again today, so I hooked him up with all the cans of bottles I had saved in my backyard. I talked to him a bit too. I guess his mom is sick and his dad works all day. And I asked too many questions just if he had food at home. And he said, yeah, I don't know if he has brothers or sisters or he's the oldest or the youngest. But one thing I know is that a lot of you don't realize how blessed you are. I have a stepdaughter who's like my own. She's 10 now and had just turned 6 when I met her. Her and her 2 brothers have their own rooms. They have a tablet, a TV. They have all this stuff, while this 11-year-old kid is pushing a stroller, collecting cans to make ends meet in his house. Right? I don't know his story. And all I had was a few bucks on me to give to him. But if you see him walking around Bishop and Birch, hook him up. Right? The kid's out there collecting cans. Right? On the street, at 11 years old, to help out his family. This is near backyard, y'all. That's Birch and Bishop. That's just up the road. Right? That's why I'm here today. We're going to do something to help your community out. Right? It's going to be your name on the deal. Some kids of your, right, out of your class, we're going to hand over a check for $1,000 today. Right? I got. Can you get on Facebook? You got a Facebook account? It's not going to work like that though, because the group's private. I got right now. What you guys don't know, I got a group there, right? That every day they wait for me to do something to help other people out. I got a group of 6,000 people that chose to believe in me. So when we start talking about relationships and stuff, I formed this thing. And I came up with this idea, based on the idea that I could make good stuff happen for other people. They didn't need to know who I was. We're gonna make some good stuff happen for people that you don't even know. But it's that you got people in your community you're gonna help out today without even knowing. Right? Only good thing that happens in life is when you help others. You're gonna find out soon, right? Not everyone who helps you out is your friend. Surround yourself with people that have your best interests at heart, right? I don't know how to wrap this up, right? But we're at the end of our time together.
We're not going to
If
do
you don't
it.
get anything else out of this, figure this out. Not everybody that craps on you is out to get you. Not everyone that brushes it off and tells you you're going to be okay, they're not there to help you, right? Know when you keep your mouth shut, right? Surround yourself with people that have your best interest at heart, right? Today, I got your guys' best interest. I got your back today. I'm going to take your leadership kids out in another room. They're going to do a little science experiment with me. I'm going to teach them how to anodize metal. They're going to sell that metal. I got 6,000 people sitting on Facebook right now that know that I'm here today. They're waiting to buy something from me that you guys are going to make with me in another room, right? And we're going to take that money and we're going to give it out and we're going to put it out in your community. You're going to help somebody you don't even know, right? I'm going to start you on that path today. Yeah? So real quick before I go, you got any kind of question, you kind of get the message, something you want to say, right? But I appreciate the man, you guys, right, once well calm down, man, you guys were all super respectful, man, and I appreciate that, yeah? All right, we good?
People are getting excited now.
Hey, I know your questions get these guys off, right? I was an Air Force guy, right? So
It's all sweaty.
that's a weird job, right? So I worked on equipment and loaded bombs on the plane, and worked on air conditioning and stuff, right? There was a point in my life where I tried to be a super tough guy, and it didn't work out because I didn't know when to keep my mouth shut.
Hey Rob, you want to show them a pig?
Yeah, we brought pigs.
You want to show them pigs?
Oh, so
This is the kind of stuff that Rob sells, and you're just I don't know, this is actually Denise, I forgot to bring mine because it's metal, so I didn't know if we were gonna have to go through metal
Alright.
detectors, and people sometimes think that they're weapons.
All right. So I started making these little brass pig bottle openers. I
Dodges.
just make them out of crazy material, right? They're for opening your they're for opening your Mexican Coke at a barbecue, right? I would never open a beer with these in front of a student, right? But I started making these little silly bottle openers, and I would give them out to my friends who were all like artists and stuff, and then they would trick them out for me, and then I would sell them on the internet, and I would auction them off and stuff. And it's crazy how nutty this has all worked out, right? So, and I've done stuff like song lyrics on stuff, or I don't know, just all kinds of stuff, right? What I do isn't really kind of important here, right? What's important is that you guys got to figure out your place in the world, right? You got to figure it out pretty quick, because in a couple of years here, you're going to be out the door, and you don't think that you don't, whatever, man. Maybe none of these things apply to you today, right? But these lessons right here will apply to you for the rest of your life. They just will. The sooner you wrap your head around these three things, the further ahead you're going to be as a person, the further ahead you're going to be as a student, the better friend you're going to be, the better whatever you're going to be as soon as you get around this. And so, really, the fundraising thing I'll talk to with like leadership kids and talk about how they can different ways they can help out their community and stuff. But again, I just want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity, and I appreciate you guys being respectful too, man. You guys were super cool. I've done this for a long time, being around kids, not talking to kids. I don't ever get to talk to kids anymore, so I just appreciate this chance to share.
I have a question for you. How did forgiveness come into play with learning these lessons, or did it?
Oh, forgiveness.
No.
Oh, she gonna start
In
talking
order
about
to
Look at all
learn
the
these
kids.
lessons, did that have anything to do with it?
Okay.
We had to sit hungry.
Oh, man.
You're saying, oh, because you know it's true.
He's like, man, she had to put us right back in school again. So, the ability to forgive. I'm just going to be honest with her. I am probably the wrong person to ask. I'm not real good at it. I'm hard-headed. I have a lot of resentment. However, the thing I keep saying to you over and over again is, don't ever lie to yourself. Right? You can put on a front, you can say some stuff to people, but in your head, you need to catch your own nonsense. You need to check yourself every now and then up here, and never lie to yourself, right? And if that takes admitting that you're wrong and forgiving somebody for the situation where you think that they're crapping on you, then yeah, you probably need to do that. And there's a bunch of reasons for it, right? At some point, you're going to get older. This mess is going to be behind you. You're going to be out doing something. You're going to have your life together, and you're going to be like, oh man, I need to go get a job. I need a reference. Yo, Mr. Clark, you got me on this? Right? It's going to be like 3 or 4 years from now, maybe it's 5 years from now. I have kids that I had 15, 18 years ago still come and hit me up for a reference because they now know that I'm out in my community trying to insert myself into these situations to be a good guy, right? So if you can't be honest with yourself and you know that you need to forgive a situation, you're just lying to yourself. And ain't nothing ever going to work out for you. You're always going to be a victim. You're always going to be like, man, I didn't get a fair shake, man. I didn't right? And you're never gonna get yourself ahead, right? I had to let go of a lot of resentment. I had to forgive a lot of situations. Some of them I don't. Some of them I won't, right? I still have a horrible situation. I'll tell you a story real quick, and then we're done. Gotta be done. About a year and a half ago, my wife and I are at dinner. We're at dinner with my mom. And I don't talk to my mom, but maybe once a year. For a bunch of reasons, right? But I went back to check on my grandmother who lived by my mom. And so my mom, my wife, and I, we all go to dinner, right? And so my wife is very proud of this thing that I've done, right, with this fundraising and kind of these community efforts. And so she says to my mom, she says, hey, did Rob tell you about this thing that he's been doing? And how he's raised all this money? And my mom's like, what are you talking about? And I'm looking at my wife and I'm like, right? Like, I just don't want to tell my mom because I know what's coming, right? And so this is my mom. So my mom's, at this time was probably like, I was probably, I don't know, 46, 47, something like that. So my mom got to be, like 60 something, right? 65, right? 66. My mom in the middle of a restaurant, 66 years old, right? My mom looks at me and says, you gave away how much? And I was like, that time it was like $500,000. I was like, so I'm like, I'm like, $500,000? My mom, first thing on my mom's mouth, what do you think it would be? If you had a child who came to you and said, hey mom, man, I went out and I raised money for things like Make-A-Wish and, Abuse Kids and this and that, right? What would be the first thing you'd say to like your kid? Oh, that's fantastic, right? Right? What do you think the first thing my mom said to me?
Are you gonna get removed?
Oh, dude, you're so close, bro. You're this close, but you just missed it. She looks at me and she goes, did you take the money? I was like, did you just call me a thief? Like, what? Did I take the money? No. I just told her to give the money away. And she couldn't wrap her head around it. And so I looked at her and I was like, seriously, do you know anybody that's ever given away $500,000? Like, this is not the response I should get, Mom. And this is what my mom said in the middle of a restaurant. And I'm like, at that time, like 47 years old. She looks at me and says, what do you want me to do? Stand on my effing head? Right? Y'all think we ain't got nothing in common, man. You all have heard some nonsense in your life, right? I'm 47, I was 47 years old. I was still hearing my mom bag on me for giving away $500,000 to help people. Yeah, so when you talk about forgive, right, and we talk about surrounding yourself with people that have your best interests at heart, not everyone who helps you out is your friend. Not everyone who poops on you is out to get you, right? You got to be honest with yourself. You got to have an honest conversation with yourself about, is this person looking out for my best interests? Whether it's your family, whether it's your best friend or whatever, you got to have an honest conversation with yourself, and you got to make the best of your situation. Don't ever lie to yourself. Don't ever lie to yourself. You can do whatever you want to do. You just got to get up and do it. And that part sucks because we lie to ourselves and we don't do it. All right, dude, I said I got to be done. I got to be done. Right? I appreciate you guys.
Really quickly, I'll explain to you, the rest of everyone, what's kind of going on today. So yes, Rob came to speak to us and so on, but we have a student leadership team, and every semester I pick kids and I add to it, and one of the things that I told the student leadership team is, you guys need to do a legacy project. And I only really said one thing, and that was, you have to leave Reach Academy and Santa Ana better than when you got here. So we started having discussions, we started doing things, and they said, we want to help an organization in Santa Ana that helps families. So I reached out to someone in our district, our communications director, and we started throwing out some things, and they said, we want to help an organization in Santa Ana that helps families. There's a lot of organizations that help adults. There's a lot of organizations that help kids. There's a lot of organizations that help immigrants. But the leadership team said an organization that helps families. So we narrowed it down, and there's an organization here in Santa Ana called the Mercy House. And we have one of the directors here with us today, Irene. And today the student leadership team is going to be going back with Rob to room 2. They're going to be doing some stuff. And the money that's raised today goes to the Mercy House with the help of Rob and Project Hate and the student leadership team. So that's pretty amazing that this guy drove 5-6 hours out of his way for free to come and share with you guys and to help the student leadership team be able and offer a check to the Mercy House to help the families in Santa Ana. So that's what's happening today. So knowing that, can we give Rob a big round of applause? With that, we'll get you guys back in your third period class.